Welcome to the last of the, thanks Bronwyn, the last of the series of exam preparation tutorials hosted by the Western Cape Paro Learning Centre. And so today we are going to look at a very specific aspect of your exam, something that may be new to many of you. So I'm pleased to see many of you today. So I'm going to put my camera off. It just uses less bandwidth and it'll make your experience a lot better. So I'm just sharing my camera. Sorry, sharing my screen. So welcome to this tutorial for ENN1504, hosted by the Paro Learning Centre in the Western Cape. Just some housekeeping for people who have just joined. Make sure your microphone is muted, your camera off. Please add your student number to the register using the link in the chat. The chat function is there for us to interact. Virtual teaching and learning is really challenging in that all I see on my side and what you see on your side is, a whole lot of circles with initials inside of them. And so I use the chat just to keep you interacting with me, with one another, and I will be relying on you to respond to the questions that I pose during the course of the tutorial using the meeting chat. All of these sessions are recorded and these are available by clicking on the link in the presentation. I will also post the direct link to ENN1504 to the recordings of all the tutorials we've had so far. And then at the end of the session, we ask that you complete the evaluation form at the end of the session using the link in the chat. So today, we're going to an overview of the session today, we're going to do a quick check-in, and maybe you can start doing that already. Please, in the chat, can you tell me which province you're from and which town you're from? Province and town. So if you're Western Cape, Gauteng, Northern Cape, or Eastern Cape, KZN, if anybody is here from there, please let us know. We'd like to know where you're from and the town you're from. In the chat, you can start posting that as a check-in. I will I will have a look at the chat throughout the tutorial, 1.5 hours. So what we're going to focus on today is looking at your exam portfolio of evidence. I'm going to show you a number of online resources that are available to you on my UNISA. I'm just going to make you aware of what is there and where to find it. And then we're going to talk about one of the requirements for your exam, which is reflective writing. Now, it is the reflective writing which may be new to you, so it's important that you stay present throughout the tutorial, and you will have access to the recording of this tutorial if you want to go back to just, again, going through what is reflective writing. I will give you the link in the chat in a moment or two, and I will also repost the link later on towards the end of the tutorial. In the meantime, please can you post which province you're from and which town you're from. So our objectives today is for you to leave the session knowing where to find the resources for the exams, all of the resources that have been developed by your lecturers, all of the tutorial recordings and some of the resources that I have gathered in consultation with your lecturers will be uploaded either on my UNISA or it will be uploaded on the Western Cape portal, and I will give you the link where to find the resources put together by the Western Cape for this module. And at the end of it, we also would like you to be able to write a reflective essay to meet the requirements of the exam. So before we do that, let me just, before we begin with any of that, let me just see what's happening in the chat. Okay. So mostly, okay, we've got somebody from Gauteng, that's great. Mostly people are from the Western Cape. Somebody has their hand raised. Sinoyolo, you want to ask something or say something?
No, you can go on. I'm fine.
Oh, okay. Was it? All right. Okay. It was a mistake. All right. Please lower your hand because you know, when I see that, then I think that you want to ask something or say something. Thank you. Thank you, Bronwyn, for posting the attendance register in the chat. Please, will you add your student number to the register by clicking on the link in the chat? And then, of course, to people joining, thanks. Just please keep your province and town will be great. Thank you. Okay, so we've spoken about our objectives for today, and let's jump right in by having a look at what are the online resources that are available to you now already, and more coming on Monday and Tuesday. So you need to be logging into my UNISA and having a look at what is available on my UNISA regularly. Okay.
She's the brand manager. Greek babe.
Can you mute your microphone?
If I could, I still keep the look and feel and touch of my hood. I'd bring it to the north and safer.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask that you please make sure that your microphone is muted, because the background noise from wherever you find yourself does create a problem. I also suggest that you put your camera off because it uses a lot less data. Okay, so put your camera off. Otherwise, you'll find that you will use a lot of data, and it's really not necessary you don't want to be using so much data. So please make sure your cameras are off. Okay, so I was talking about my UNISA and how it's so important for you to make sure that you are checking my UNISA regularly. Now, on my UNISA, you're going to find recordings. You're going to find not only recordings, but you also find podcasts. And you'll find that your lecturers are using virtual ways of interacting with you these days, because can I ask Masego, if you don't mind, Masego, please turn your camera off. It's quite distracting for me as your facilitator to see what's happening in wherever you are, because I change screens all the time, and I find it a little bit, oh, okay, I'm seeing somebody doing this and doing that. So please, can you, Masego, I don't mean to pick on you, but please, can you turn your camera off? You'll find that you will use less data also when you turn your camera off. Thank you. Okay. So we were talking about my UNISA. So I just want to go there and show you where to find these resources. I'm going to share my screen with you. And it's really important that you take the time as part of your preparation to log into my UNISA on a regular basis, because as a distance learning student, you can't use the reason, but I never knew, because the university is communicating with you all the time via your My Life email address. So it's really important that you are checking your email, that you're logging into your modules regularly to see what your lecturers are telling you about. So the place to go is, once you've logged into the ENN1504 site, is to go to your announcements. Now you'll see there have been quite a few announcements posted for the month of October. There was a meeting recording by Dr. Shandu, and this one is really great because it deals with the feedback on assignment 2, the investigative report. This one is also important. This is a very, very important one, and I'll just click on it there. You'll see here that Ms. Hlachwayo has posted a link, okay? You have to copy this link and paste it into your browser. So you just copy, highlight it, and then click on Go To, and you'll see another tab will open, and it will take you directly to this. It's a visual kind of podcast of two of your lecturers. Okay. That, I don't know why it's doing that for me. I watched it yesterday. Two of your lecturers.
I also tried to open it.
Yes.
I also tried to open it. It keeps saying that.
Okay, so Pumza, can you email the lecturers? Okay, send an email from your MyLife account and tell them that the link isn't working. It's possible. Okay, so here's maybe why they took that down. I watched it yesterday and there was an error in something that they said, and it's quite possible that they took it down because they may be wanting to post something else to fix the error. Okay, so for now, it's all right if you can't access it, but the principle is still important. It's making sure that you go to the announcements and that you look at each of those announcements that have been posted by your lecturers. So yesterday, there was a very important webinar, and I'm sure that you will be given access to a recording. This webinar was not specifically for ENN1504 students. It was for all UNISA students, and it dealt with the online exam. Not everyone is writing an exam in the way that ENN1504 students are writing. Some students are writing multiple choice questions. You are not, okay? Other modules are writing in different ways. So it was important for all UNISA students to be familiarized via this webinar with how to prepare for the online exam and what it means for you. And if you have any module specific questions about the exam, you need to address those to the module lecturers. Okay, so that's another important, be on the lookout for the link for that recording. Then Ms. Hlachwayo also, in that recording that has now been taken down, they spoke about the portfolio of evidence that would be written over 3 days, and she in error referred to making sure that it was uploaded by 3 o'clock in the morning on the 26th of October, and I think that's probably also why they took the recording down. They maybe just want to fix or edit out some of the mistakes that crept in. So the question paper is going to be released on Friday the 23rd at 7 o'clock. Okay, you're going to log in using the way in which you are advised to. You're not going to find it here on the site, on the ENN1504 portal. You have to go to a different place, and you need to go and find out where it is you have to go to. Okay, I'm not going to spend time on that today. If you're confused, there you have received notification of how to do this. So all you need to know, all I'm wanting to make clear for ENN1504 is on the 23rd at 7 o'clock, the exam paper will be released. You need to log in, do the necessary log into the right place to access the paper, download the question paper, log out of My UNISA, disconnect from the internet, and then start with your exam. You then, from the 23rd to the 26th at 7 o'clock, you have time to work on your question paper, on your answers, putting your answers together, following the instructions very, very carefully. And you have to upload it back into a particular place on My UNISA. You need to follow the instructions really, really carefully. Now, just to take you to additional resources, here you'll find something called online exam resources. Your lecturer, Dr. Shandu, has very thoughtfully posted all of relevant documentation, all of the things that you need to be reading and taking note of how to your take-home portfolio. Okay, so if we open this document, it'll give you step-by-step directions on how to access. You are doing a take-home portfolio exam. Okay, this is how to access it, where to access it, logging in, screenshots, all that kind of thing, and more in this document. Between today and Friday coming, make sure that you're familiar with all of this. There are many more documents like that. The exam tutorial letter, let's just open that. I think this was uploaded last night. So the format of the paper. So let's have a look at the format. Okay, so all of what I'm explaining to you now in terms of time, here it is, the dates, the times, no extensions will be granted. Okay, the duration of the exam will be 3 days. And again, I want to say to you, you do not have to be connected to the internet for the whole 3 days. You are downloading the question paper. You are logging out of My UNISA. You are disconnecting from the internet, and then you are working on your paper. Okay. This is an important note. It says the contents of the exam will include a reflection, transactional documents, and the investigative report. So there you know what you're going to be tested on now. Transactional documents are either the email or the memo. Okay? You will not be, listen carefully, you will not be tested on the minutes. Okay, so we are going to spend time today looking at this part of the exam. I'm going to help you get ready for writing a reflection. I am not going to focus on the investigative report because in line with the one objective of showing you where to find things and resources available to you on My UNISA, you're going to find podcasts. So if you go to podcasts, okay, here you're going to find many podcasts, all on the investigative report, including business language. So you'll see now that, so you will start off with introducing reports, or you can start off with business language, and you'll see Dr. Shandu deals with the title and the terms of reference. Then she's created a separate podcast for procedures, a separate one for findings, a separate one for conclusions, a separate one for recommendations. So there's more than enough resources for you to revise the investigative report. There's also a feedback tutorial letter on the report. So this was assignment 2. So you also have access to the feedback tutorial letter on assignment 2, which again was the investigative report. So for that reason, I'm not going to spend time today on the investigative report. I have been asked by your lecturers to focus on the reflective writing. I'm sure that the preparation, so this gives you access to all those podcasts that I showed you earlier on. Now you can download those podcasts if you want and listen to it in your own time, or you can listen to it while you are logged into My UNISA. Okay. There's also a very useful recording that Dr. Shandu did of a live session that she held last Friday on the report. It is I logged into the session, and when it was live and it was being recorded, and it was really useful. She spent detailed time on explaining every aspect of the investigative report, and you can access it there. Access this recording by copying and pasting either of these 2 links. If that one doesn't work for you, then make use of this one, the Google Drive one. So all in all, what I'm wanting to show you is that all of this information and more is going to become available to you before the exam, and you will have access to all of this during the exam. So if you want to listen to the podcasts again, you can. Dr. Shandu has told me that on Monday, her colleagues will be uploading more recordings with regards to the portfolio of evidence, giving you more guidelines, okay, as to the portfolio. So I don't want you to become all stressed out about the word portfolio. Portfolio simply means one document comprising of a number of documents that you're putting into a single document called a portfolio of evidence, and you're going to upload that into MyUnisa as your answer. And you will be given 3 days within which to compile this portfolio of evidence. Are there any questions or comments at this stage?
Hi.
Is everyone? Hello, go ahead.
Do I have to attach the declaration in each and every question that I'm going to write in an exam?
Okay, Lesedi, you need to follow the instructions in the exam paper. But from what I understand, when you upload your answer, your document into either the whatever portal, the exam portal that is that you need to upload ENN1504 exam into, there is something called an honor pledge. Okay, it's a button you've got to click, and let's just see if we can go there. And so I don't think you will have to do that. Okay. All right. Okay, so we leave it at that.
You know, you can go through it, even though that, like, I just saw that of an honor pledge. Then
Yeah, so
as
the
I saw
honor
that
pledge, the honor pledge is your declaration of honesty. That's what the honor pledge is. Okay, they're just using different words.
you can show us.
I
can
can't access it on the actual portal because I don't have access. All I have access to is this, and if you go to additional resources, you will find it under preparation. Not that one, no. It will be online exam resources. And if you go here, it will show you in this PDF document when you're preparing for uploading. You log in. There we go. Select the honesty declaration. Okay, you have to type I agree in the text box, and that will be your declaration. You know, like you have to do for assignment 1 and 2. This then serves as your declaration, so you don't have to type it in your answer. Okay, so you'll find that where to find this honesty declaration. You will find it online. Okay, here's a screenshot of what it looks like. You have to type the words I agree and then press continue. I hope that helps. Okay, so that was, yeah, okay, Pumza. So you're saying they say avoid using a phone and you don't have a laptop. That's okay. Pumza, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to write your answer out. Write your answers out, okay? And then you're going to have to scan it using your phone, downloading a scanning app onto your phone. All of that information is also available in the exam guidelines. You need to just go and look through the guidelines on MyUnisa. Don't let it stress you out. So what you're doing is, Pumza, you are just handwriting your exam on any paper, as long as you are writing in black, using writing neatly so that your marker can understand your handwriting, and then using a scanning application on your phone. You are going to scan your handwritten document, and you're going to scan it onto your phone. Then you're going to log into MyUnisa, and then you're going to upload your answer using your phone. Log into MyUnisa and upload your scanned handwritten document into the exam portal. Okay, so don't let it stress you out. Remember my mantra, there's always a way. So where were we? So I now want to show you, so that's the UNISA resources, okay? What I want to show you now is, I want to show you how to access the Western Cape sites resources. I'm going to post this link into the chat in a moment. This link will take you straight to the EN1504, the recordings of all the tutorials. On the 3rd of October, I covered the transactional documents. The transactional documents, as I said earlier, are the email and the memo. Okay, so watch this recording. Last week, I covered the minutes. So you're not going to be tested on the minutes, so you don't have to watch this recording. Okay, all right. At that point, I didn't know that you were not going to be tested on the minutes. And had I known that in advance, I would not have done it. I would have just gone to the investigative report. However, you have more than enough. There are more than enough resources available for you on the investigative report. Okay, so these recordings are available to you. Today's recording on reflective writing will appear here by Monday or Tuesday. So you will see session 3, 17 October 2020, and you will see today's recording, which is all about where to find information and reflective writing. So I'm just going to copy and paste the direct link, and you might want to copy it from the chat into a Word document or into your, put it somewhere where you can save it so that you can have direct access to this before the exam or during the exam. But there's another set of resources that you have access to. You'll see this gray bar here above each of the recordings. This gray bar, when you click on it, it will take you to a notes folder. Okay, and you'll see that this notes folder will open. You need to find the ENN1504 folder, and you will see the notes that I have uploaded into the ENN1504 folder. Now you have access to this now and during the exam. Okay, so you can come here. So what we're doing on reflective writing, I'm actually going to upload a file right now. So that you can have access to it. If I can't find it now, then I don't want to waste time, because time is, the time flies. Here we go. So I'm busy uploading a document now, and there you'll see a PDF document that I've just uploaded into the notes folder for ENN1504, which you can have access to after today, after this morning session, and it's called Writing Academic Reflection. And it'll be useful. I'll show you what it looks like. There's the PDF document. I'm going to refer to this in a moment or two as soon as I start getting into writing and academic reflection. Okay. All right, so you have access to these notes now already, and because I've uploaded it. Are there any questions at this stage? So you have access to recordings of the live recordings, and you have access to the notes. Okay, I will make some aspects of today's presentation even I'll make available to you as notes in this ENN1504 folder.
So can you please share with us that reflection PDF documents on WhatsApp so that we can access it?
Yes, but you can access it. You can also access it. You can also access it here on where I've just shown you. Okay, but I will do that. Okay, I'll put it in the WhatsApp group, but I'll do it later on. Okay, so any other questions about where to access, how to access all of these resources available to you? We're talking about online resources, okay? We're talking about the podcasts, the recordings, the PDF documents, all available to you for the duration of the exam. Are there any questions at this stage before I carry on?
Yes.
Go ahead, you have a question?
Yes, as you said that in exam, according to that tutorial letter, you have shown us that you will find the reflection. What is that? The investigation report, and those, it's either memo or an email. It means the minutes, we are not going to find them inside our question paper.
No, you won't be questioned on the minutes.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I don't know why this always happens. Somebody's asked, here we go. This is the WhatsApp link, the link to the WhatsApp group. Nothing special happens on this group, but it's also just a quick place for questions and answers and that kind of thing. And I post additional things. Not everybody can make it to these live sessions, so I post links to the sessions, links to the documents, post the documents in the WhatsApp group, all that kind of thing. It's just another way of interacting with you. Okay. All right. Okay, so any comment, any more questions before we move on?
No question on my side. We can move on.
Okay, cool. All right.
But don't forget to post that link where I asked you regarding that PDF document so that we can access it, please.
Yeah, okay, all right. So
regarding the reflection document.
Yes, so I will do that in the WhatsApp group as soon as I'm done here with this. Okay, I don't want to use time uploading things into WhatsApp when I can do it later on. So people are asking to be added to the group. You are added to the group by clicking on the link that's in the meeting chat at the moment. Okay. Thanks for the reminder, Lesedi. All right, so I've shown you where to find the podcasts and the recordings on my UNISA. I've shown you that there will be a portfolio of evidence recording, which has now since been taken down because I think there were a couple of errors in the recording, which the lecturers want to fix. But it's important that you go and look at my UNISA under the additional resources for those resources that are available to you. As it's stated in the tutorial letter, you're going to have to write a reflective essay. You're going to have to do, I've made a mistake there. It will be either, there'll be a choice of memo or email. I don't know which one they're going to test, but make sure that you're familiar with the format and the layout and the structure, and all of that is covered in the first recording, okay, of the Saturday sessions. And then on the investigative report, I've shown you where to find lots of information on the investigative report. So let's go on to reflective writing. So this is going to be, from what I'm understanding, this is going to be a compulsory part of your exam. You are going to have to write a reflective piece. Can anyone tell me, what do you understand by reflective writing? What does the word reflective mean to you? You can unmute your microphone or you can type in the chat. What does it mean to be reflective? To reflect on something, to reflect on life, to reflect on anything. What does it mean to you? What do you understand being reflective to mean? It's quite okay if you guess. Yes, Lesedi, you want to say?
I want to try it.
Go for it.
I think it's an essay which the writer examines his or her experience in life, and
Yes.
like something like that.
Yeah. Thank you, Lesedi. Thanks for trying. Yes, you're right. You reflect on experiences that you've had. Okay, it's a very personal kind of writing. You're writing about yourself. You're reflecting on your personal experiences of a particular event or moment or instance in your life. Kaya later saying to look back at past events. Yes. Now, this reflective piece that you have to write is all about your experience of doing ENN 1504. Okay? You have to write about what it was like for you. You've got to reflect on you've got to write about the insights that you gained through doing ENN 1504, this module called ENN 1504. Bearing in mind, the module is about business writing. Okay, so some of you work. So what insights have you gained? What have you learned from completing this module that you can maybe, when you at work, how are you using what you've learned from this module? Those of you who are not yet working, what do you think you might use going forward? Or maybe you're already using whatever you have learned through this module. You're already using it in your writing, okay? In your business writing. Maybe you're applying for jobs. Maybe you're completing your CV. What have you learned? Okay, so we're going to take a moment, well, more than a moment. Yes, absolutely, Noratandu. To meditate, and here meditate means to think deeply on events and see and think about the positive or negative impact on your life. Okay, so how did this experience of being a student of ENN 1504, what was positive for you? Okay, what was negative for you? And you are going to write about all of that. So you need to be taking what is in your thinking and you need to be transferring it onto paper. So I'm going to show you a short video of about 6 minutes on just to introduce you to this concept of reflective writing. And this video is from Hull University. And I hope you enjoy it.
Reflective writing is a process of putting into writing your reflective thinking. Reflective thinking is actually the important part of the process. The writing is just a way of documenting that this has happened. When people first start to reflect, they often think that it's about looking back at an event and thinking about what they've learned from the experience. What they don't realise is that it is equally about looking forward, imagining future events and thinking about how the lessons you've learned could be applied. It is therefore a three-stage process, looking back and analysing and projecting into the future. Without the third stage, it could be pointless. It's also really important that when you look back at an event, you don't just concentrate on it in isolation. You need to take a metaphorical step backwards so that you can see it in the context of other events and other learning. These can and should influence your viewpoint when reflecting on that event. All of this can be written about in your reflective writing. When most people reflect, they write about what happened, about when it happened, often in the form of a timeline. I did this, then I did that. They write about who was involved and perhaps where it happened. These are useful things, but they are basically descriptive, and writing about them does not actually contribute to useful reflection. Instead, you should write about your thoughts about the event, during it, after it, and since. You should also include information about how it made you feel. Were you uncomfortable doing it? Did you feel confident about it? Instead of what, when, who, and where, you need to write about why. Why did you do it that way? How? How will you change it in the future? You should also think about the implications. You learned something, but so what? How does that help you? Writing that answers these questions is truly reflective. So, how much description is needed and how much reflection? Description is important, but it should be kept to a minimum. It exists merely in order to put the reflection into context. A typical piece of reflective writing should have short bouts of description followed by a lot of reflection. One important part of reflection is hindsight. This is the ability to look back at an event with knowledge that wasn't available during the event. Typically, some hindsight will initially hit immediately following an event as a result of knowledge gained in the process of that event. This is the if only moment when you first look back. What then happened is you gain more hindsight gradually over time as more knowledge becomes available. This can be incredibly frustrating if you think you can't change things. However, if at the point you reflect, you realise you've learned a lot from the experience and you can change things in the future. This is actually very empowering. When writing about that learning, it is important to not only think about how it can be directly applied to similar situations, but how it can be adapted and translated to other situations. For instance, if you have to give a presentation, you may spend a lot of time preparing for it and be really happy with the way that it went when you delivered it. But what if someone afterwards asks you a really awkward question, one you hadn't prepared for? You might feel a bit flustered and not answer it how you would have liked. When you reflect on this, you may write about how you did not like that feeling, and in future presentations, you'll need to think about more possible questions and prepare answers beforehand. However, you may also think about other situations where thinking beyond the immediate problem would come in useful. And you may realise that despite being unprepared, you did manage to give an answer of sorts. This may make you realise that you can think on your feet and give you confidence to do the same in other situations. You could put all of these thoughts into your reflective writing. If you imagine an experience as a wet cloth, the purpose of reflection is to wring every last drop of learning out of that experience. It's also about showing that you can think about how you can put that learning into action. Nobody's saying this is easy. When you first start writing your reflections down, it can seem very strange. You may learn things about yourself that you're not comfortable with. You can feel like you're really struggling uphill. However, when it becomes a regular activity, it can feel perfectly normal and relatively easy. The great thing about reflecting is that it's very rewarding. When you realise that you can analyse things and work out possible ways forward for yourself, your self-confidence gets a real boost. Reflective writing is just a way to formalise and encourage such reflective thinking.
All right. So the purpose of that video was just to give you a sense of what reflective writing is all about. Okay. And I've posted a link to the video, that video on YouTube in the meeting chat, and I've also posted it in the WhatsApp group. So you've got it in 2 places. So you can go and watch it for yourself again in preparation for the exam. And what's nice about knowing this about the exam is that you can start your reflection now already. Okay, don't wait for when is it? When do you get your paper? The 23rd. Don't wait for Friday. Start meditating. I like that word, Noluthando. Start meditating. Start ruminating. That's another word that means that you're thinking deeply, that you're processing your thoughts, that you're starting to reflect on what this module was all about. But I want to bring to your attention that your lecturers are going to be very specific in the paper as to the way in which you write this essay. So my job today is just to expose you to what reflective writing is all about. Your question paper is going to tell you exactly how you've got to write your essay. Now, I'm just going to put it out there, and I don't want you to get a shock, but you're going to have to write 500 words. Okay? It's about a page if you're typing. It's about 1.5 pages if you are writing. And I don't want you to worry and get stressed by these 500 words, because if you reflect on different aspects of your experience and you break those aspects up into paragraphs, you can easily write 500 words and maybe more. Do you have any questions or any comments before we go further?
Is there anywhere in our study guide or textbook we can find the structure of the reflection? No.
There isn't. Unfortunately, there's nothing in the study guide. Okay, so that's why I'm spending time today. And I'm sure your lecturers are going to also give you guidance and guidelines on reflective writing. You, of course, are at an advantage because you've taken the time to attend today's tutorial. And so, you know, when you watch the webinars or the recorded PowerPoints by your lecturers on reflective writing, you will be at an advantage because it will be consolidation for you. It will be adding to what you now know about reflective writing. So you're probably thinking, so now, okay, so fine, I got a sense of what reflection means, but now how do I write this essay? Okay, so the first thing you do is, and I mean, here you'll see, if you just cast your mind back to what you watched in that video, is you're going to describe your experiences, your feelings, and your thoughts. Then you will interpret these feelings and thoughts. In other words, what did they mean in relation to what I'm learning? Okay? What did those feelings and thoughts mean in relation to what I have learned through my experience of ENN1504? So this can be one paragraph, this can be a second paragraph, this can be another paragraph where you, like somebody in the chat said, where you evaluate the positive and the negative aspects of what you have learned. So what was positive about your learning experience of what was the positive aspect of being an ENN 1504 student? What were the good things? What were the benefits? But then, you know, if you're wanting to balance it, what were the not so great things? What were the things you struggled with? What were the disadvantages for you? What were your challenges? What did you find difficult? So are you starting to see how there's a lot you can write about? And if you putting your thoughts or your ideas down in that way, you will be able to come up with 500 words. Okay. Then lastly, when we reflect, as your video said, reflective writing is not only about looking at past events. Okay, so we look at the past events, but we look at the past events in order to help us think about, what am I going to do about this in future? So how do I plan on applying what I've learned going forward? So even though you're writing a reflective piece, you have to, in your reflection, you are going to have to write about what you're going to do going forward. So what will you do differently? Okay, how will you do it differently? How has it changed the way in which you thought and felt? And how will you approach your learning experiences, your being a student, your working, the things you write, the documents you write at work? How will you do things differently? How are you going to apply it? So you should be able to come up with quite a bit of writing if you break up your essay into this DIEP. And you'll see that that's a strategy called DIEP, you know, like the Afrikaans word for deep, DIEP. You'll see that in the PDF document that I shared. It's called the DIP strategy, and I'm just typing the words here in the chat. Okay, the DIP strategy. So D for describe, I for interpret, E for evaluate, and P for plan. Okay, so if you use that approach, then you really spend time thinking about it. You can start over the next few days, just making notes for yourself. Then when the question paper becomes available on Friday, then you look at what the question asks you to do, and then you take what you have already written down somewhere or typed, and you take that and you make sure that you meet the requirements of the exam, okay, of the exam question for the reflection section. Do you have any questions about that? Is everybody following me? I know I'm going fast, but you know it's 25 past 12 already and we finish at 1. So I just want to make sure that everybody's following. Can I have some indication in the chat that you're following, or you want me to go over some question?
No, I don't have a question, but I assume I'm following.
Now, before I can't hear you, the connection's very poor. Maybe type it in the chat. Okay, thanks, Tammy. Anyone else want to just give some feedback as to how you're feeling about this reflective writing? Okay, I'm going to repeat the DIP, yes. Okay, I will, definitely. Okay, Nicolene, I see. Just please repeat the DIP. I will do that. Okay, great. Thank you for that feedback, Tammy. Okay, so to help Nicolene and to help all of you, I'm just going to go back to the presentation to show you again what the DIP stands for. Okay, so it's D for describe, I for interpret, E for evaluate, as in what is the value of what you've learned, the positive and the negative aspects. What were the good and the bad? Okay, what was the good and the bad about this experience? And then the P for plan. How will you apply what you've learned going forward? How do you plan on using your insights into in this going forward? So you've got in your essay, you've got to use this DIP strategy, and I'm going to go into it in a bit more detail in a moment. And you're going to have to write 500 words. I can't say enough. I want to emphasize that you must follow the instructions given to you in the paper. You have to read the instructions very, very carefully. Okay, so while my job here today is to explain to you what reflective writing is, and I'm sharing with you a strategy to use to write a reflective essay, your lecturers will also provide you with details and guidelines on on how to do it. So you're going to be given, they're aware that you are not familiar with this, okay? But so they will be giving you guidelines. So check my UNISA. Maybe they're going to do a webinar on reflective writing. Maybe they're going to, in the essay question, give you details on how to go about it. And who knows, they might even use this DIP strategy. Okay, but it's really important that you follow what they give to you. So let's just go back here. So I'm going to just share the PDF document which I have uploaded into the WhatsApp group already. Lesedi, you would have seen it there. And so here you have this document now. You have access to it. It is available in the notes, and it's available in the chat, in the WhatsApp group. So the DIP strategy. It's a strategy to help with writing a critical or academic reflection in 4 paragraphs. The 4 steps are to describe a new understanding, to interpret and evaluate it, and to plan how it might transfer to future practice or learning. Okay, so the first page really just describes what reflective writing is all about and how to go about it. So maybe what you can do in this week coming is to think about think about an insight from being an ENN1504 student. Brainstorm your ideas that come to mind. Use the DIP strategy. Now here they talk about conducting research. What you can draw on is some of the information in your study guide. Okay, but remember, they don't want to know what you learned from the study guide. They are wanting to know, how did the information in the study guide give you insight into who you are, how you're going to apply this in life going forward. They don't want you to give back to them the study guide. So you won't get good marks for taking information from the study guide. That I'm going to tell you now. Okay. So go back to your study guide or even your tutorial letter and look at what were some of the things that you were supposed to learn through this module, and then reflect on that and say, okay, so how does this apply to me? How did I feel about this? What was new here? What was difficult? What was great? What did I find easy? Did I feel uncomfortable about it? Why did I feel uncomfortable about it? Remember in that video we watched, the why question is more important about the what you did, the when you did it. Okay, it's the why you did it, why you felt in a particular way, that's more important. And how that gave rise to new insight and a new way of doing things. So that's the first page on that PDF document. So if we were to go to just unpack this dip a little bit more, right? So let's look at here. D for describe objectively. Objectively means without emotion, what you learned. So what is nice about this is there's some starting phrases that you can most certainly use. The most interesting or the most surprising or the most important or the most significant insight or theory or thing I read or I saw or I heard or I realized or I learned is that. You know, this week won't be relevant because you know, you're not reflecting on a particular week, you're reflecting on a whole experience of a semester of a module. So be careful of that. So here's another nice phrase. One thing I realize or one thing I understand now is that. Okay, continue the paragraph with details of what, where and when. All right. Then when you get to the second paragraph of the interpret, I for interpret, explain the meaning of this new insight, this understanding that you describe here in the first paragraph. You can refer to your ideas in the course material. Okay, and that's why the course material for you will be the study guide, but your lecturers don't want you to be writing about what the study guide says. Okay, they wanting to know of what meaning was this to you in your experience as a student. You will use that course material to support your explanations of your new understanding, new insight. So for example, if you're writing about the investigative report, you can say the most surprising or the most significant thing I learned about writing investigative reports is that it's such a structured document. So why was that so important? Well, now this realization or the meaning of this new understanding is that I will now be able to write investigative reports at work. Even though I don't have to do it in my current job description. However, should I be promoted or apply for a new position where report writing is a requirement, I will be able to draw on my experience of the ENN1504 module and apply it and put that on my CV to say that I know how to write investigative reports. Does this make sense? I mean, I'm just thumb-sucking information here, okay, to show you how this works. Then when it gets to the E for evaluate what you've learned, now it's saying in one or more paragraphs, right? But remember, you've got 500 words, which is, you may feel intimidated by 500 words, but I promise you 500 words is not a lot when you're writing about yourself. And what is really, really rewarding about reflective writing is how much you learn about yourself. Okay, and when you reflect on that learning, that, as that video said, suddenly you find that your confidence grows and is boosted, and you feel so much more sure of yourself, and you truly feel rewarded, even though it might not have been the easiest experience you've had. So, evaluate what you've learned, okay? So, show how your insight is connected to how your thinking has changed for the better. How is this useful for my deeper understanding? So, here's some more starting phrases. This understanding is important in a number of ways. So there you can write about the number of ways in which this new understanding for you is important. This, having realized that, I wonder, or I intend to develop. Maybe you really struggled with writing the investigative report, and maybe you just want to, you know, go and read up a bit some more about it. Whatever needs to happen for yourself. Remember, this is one document. This is one type of writing where you can't ask someone else. This is all about you and you're looking inside of yourself. unpacking your personal thoughts and feelings about an experience. So you can't ask somebody to write it for you because they're going to be writing about themselves. So everybody's reflection is going to be completely different. Then P for plan. How is this learning going to be applied in practice? So you're going to comment on the relevance to your future profession, to your life in general. Okay, how are you going to apply this? So you're going to use the future tense in this paragraph to show how you're going to transfer this new understanding, this new knowledge, this new insight to the future. So you could start off this paragraph with, this new insight will be useful in my future career, okay, in my studies going forward, okay, in my whatever, if you're studying for a bachelor's, if you're studying for a national diploma, if you're studying for a higher certificate, it will be useful as a what and in my life. In this course or in this understanding, so and so could occur. Okay, so you have access to this document and you can go and reflect on that some more in your own time. Yes, Pumza, you're right. Thinking of my first day attending ENN1504, your confidence definitely boosted. Absolutely. It's wonderful to hear. Okay. And so reflection is really important because if you go back to how you felt as a student at the very beginning and you think about how you're feeling at the moment, what you are looking on is what happened in between then and now, how that came about and why it came about. All right. So very, very important. So what I want to do is I have another video for you, but I want to also just share with you how this looks in real life. Okay, so I'm going to share with you an assignment I had to do. I've told you before that I too am a student. I just want to make sure it's in my share tray. Okay, there we go. I'm a postgraduate student, and last year in one of my courses, I had to write, now wait for it, you have to write 500 words. I had to write 3,000 words, okay? And it was a reflective essay. So what I want to do is I just want to show you how it works. And I'm just going to read to you maybe a few lines from my experience, okay? So if I'm sharing with you this paragraph here. So I'm saying during the first 7 weeks of the LTHE course, I experienced, you see I'm using the first person as in the word I, okay? I experienced what Steer 2008 describes as being a stranger in a strange land, wandering through new and unfamiliar terrain, unsure, overwhelmed, and a little lost. I'm describing how I felt. Okay, I relished the intellectual stimulation of the weekly prescribed readings, yet I sometimes felt intimidated during the class discussions, which on occasion silenced me. I often came away from the classes feeling ambivalent about my contributions there. I also felt self-conscious and unsure when I blogged and contributed to the discussions on the Vula online platform because learning in this way was new to me. It is for this reason that I sometimes remained silent, but that did not mean that I was not engaged. I read all the blogs and discussions, observing silently. And here comes the reflection. Okay, so you'll see here, I'm talking about what I did and how I felt while I was in the doing. I'm describing what happens here. And Steer is the theory that I'm drawing on. Now, you won't have to do this in your writing. I had to do it in my writing. So I go on to say, upon reflection, I have come to realize that my students might have had the same experience, except that I, as their teacher, had attributed their silence or lack of participation and lack of preparation for my workshops and tutorials for what I now know to be Biggs, quote unquote, blame the student theory of teaching. My experience as a student at the beginning of the semester has most certainly made me see my students in a new light, in that I now understand how they feel to a certain extent. Their feedback after a workshop, and there I was quoting a workshop that I had run, confirmed that they feel the same as I have felt. However, even with my newly found awareness, after we had dealt with single stories and dimensions of difference, and again I'm referring to this session in my course where we looked at single stories and dimension of difference. So even after we had dealt with that in this course, I have still caught myself assuming that my students are a homogeneous group, such as they are all undergraduates. Recently, a student told me that even though he had 3 degrees, he still struggled with academic writing, and therefore he was glad he attended the exam preparation workshop. I'm therefore learning to be mindful of my assumptions, beliefs, and attitudes during every interaction with my students. So there you've got a real live example of reflective writing. Okay? Comments about that? And you don't have to comment on my personal experience. I'm wanting to hear from you what your reaction is to the way in which I wrote, how I wrote from my personal experience. Has it been made clear to you now what reflective writing really is? And what it is the marker is wanting to see. I didn't necessarily use the deep strategy, thanks Lesedi, but some of it is there, okay? So I described, I did interpret, I did evaluate, but I also spoke about how I plan to use it going forward. Okay, can we hear from someone else? What learning you taking away from my having shared with you my personal experience of reflective writing? And just to show you how it looks in real life. And how you actually need to dig really deeply within yourself. Okay, thanks, Nicolene. How you focus deeply on yourself. Okay, and you describe in detail the emotions, the what was happening, and how all of that is then interpreted, evaluated, and then how you plan to use it going forward. Yeah, okay, all right. Thank you very much for that, Noluthando. I can tell you that my lecturer did enjoy it, so yeah. Okay, so it's 11:45, and so let's just see what else is on my presentation here. Okay, all right, we're nearing the end. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you another 6-minute video that goes hand in hand with the PDF document that I showed you now, okay, the deep PDF document that I shared with you. So it's almost, so the video and the PDF go together because the video talks directly to the deep strategy. Okay, so here goes. And again, as before, I will post the link, the YouTube link, in the meeting chat, and I'll put it in the WhatsApp group also.
In this video, you'll be introduced to reflective writing and some techniques to help.
Okay, my apologies. Okay, Kailetu, you're saying, yeah, my apologies. I haven't shared my screen with you, so I've just gotten distracted here. Yes, it can be a little bit intimidating because you see, in an academic environment, you're not really, always asked to write about how you feel. However, it is such a valuable experience because then you grow and develop as a human being. Okay, and then your learning becomes so real and relevant to who you are. And I'm so excited to see you say you can't wait. Okay, you're right. It is something that we don't do often enough. So let me see if this is in my share tray now. Here we go. Okay.
you make the most of the reflection process.
Okay. And this is from the University
In
of
this video,
Melbourne.
you'll be introduced to reflective writing and some techniques to help you make the most of the reflection process. Throughout your degree, you'll be asked to reflect on theories you learn and experiences you have. Reflection allows you to look back on something and think deeply about it. By analysing, questioning and evaluating the experience, you'll develop new insights and perspectives. Often this will in turn challenge your beliefs and affect your future actions. Reflective writing is a chance to think critically about how an experience made you feel and how this connects to your personal beliefs. We all have our own perspectives that we bring to any situation, which in turn affects how we see it. This process also gives you an opportunity to connect these experiences, feelings, and beliefs to theory and research. You can then use these ideas in combination to inform how you might act or think differently in the future. But be careful. One of the dangers when asked to write a reflective piece is to dedicate too much of your word count to simply describing the experience, rather than dedicating effort towards interpreting and evaluating it. The reflection then simply becomes a recount of what happened or a repeat of what you've studied. To avoid this, remember, your personal perspective is important. Unlike other types of writing, reflective writing is a chance for you to write about your feelings and experiences in the first person. To be sure your reflective writing piece goes deeper than simply describing the event, try considering your experience in relation to this model, DIEP. First, describe what happened. This could be a single incident or a highlight from that week's lecture or reading. You don't need to recall the entire experience, just a key aspect of the experience itself. Then, interpret the event. Consider what the experience might mean. How did it make you feel? How does it relate to other things you've learned? What new insights have you gained from it? Next, evaluate how beneficial or useful the experience has been. Finally, outline a plan for how the experience may impact on your thinking and behaviour in the future. Being able to write in this way takes time and practice. Start by brainstorming aspects of your experience first, then any relevant theories you've studied. Next, add related past experiences or personal beliefs. Once you've finished brainstorming, try making connections between the ideas. This final step will help you identify a theme. Doing this first will give you the best chance of producing a connected narrative where your experience, interpretations, evaluations, and plans are presented in a cohesive way. By focusing on a theme rather than the entire experience or entire reading or lecture, you'll be able to go into more depth in your reflection and dedicate more word count to your perspective and insights. If you have time and already have a topic to write about, pause the video here to start your own brainstorm and find a theme to focus on. Once you've identified your theme, you're ready to write. We're going to look at 2 sample paragraphs and review them against the DIEP reflective writing model. Pause the video here, read the 2 paragraphs and ask yourself, is one more effective than the other? If so, how? Why?
Okay, so I've just paused it there, but I'm just going to do it just momentarily because, we've got 10 minutes left. And so I've posted the link to the YouTube video in the WhatsApp group and in the meeting chat, so you can go afterwards to go and watch this video again, okay? And then you can read through it very carefully yourself when you watch it by yourself.
Paragraph 2 is a much more in-depth reflection than the first. The sentences highlighted in bold in the second paragraph are additional points that were missing from the first. In the second paragraph, the author has identified their focus or theme, in this case their experience of writing their first technical document in the workplace. They've written about how the experience felt and connected this to theory. They've also identified an opportunity to develop further. The student who wrote the second paragraph will have a much deeper understanding of the experience and how they can use it to shape their own development in the future. Now, let's take a closer look at the language they used to demonstrate this deeper reflection. They've shown how the experience made them feel with language such as I found and I felt, and evaluated the experience with statements such as which gave me and it reminded me. Furthermore, their plans for the future are highlighted using language such as I need to, I'm very interested in developing, and I hope to. To be sure you have a balance of ideas and have not dedicated too much of your word count to simply describing the experience, try color coding your description, interpretation, evaluation, and plan in 4 different colors. Here, the description is highlighted in blue, the interpretation in red, the evaluation in green, and the plan in yellow. This allows us to easily see the balance between these 4 elements. This is a great technique to try while editing your document. The example we've just analysed focuses on an experience, but the technique is equally effective when reflecting on lectures, readings, and theories. Many students who've been asked to write reflectively for an assignment have found it so beneficial that they've continued the practice even after the subject is finished. So, we've looked at how to approach reflective writing through an initial brainstorming phase. We've also applied the DIEP model to identify new insights. You're now ready to begin the process yourself.
Okay, so how was that? So did you see the connection now between that video and the PDF document that I shared with you earlier? Okay, so you have access to both. Thanks, Kim. You have access to both the video and the PDF now. Okay, I put the resources both in the chat here and in the WhatsApp group. It's there already. So do you have any questions about the reflective piece that you've got to write in the exam or for the exam? This is one for the people who arrived late. This is a compulsory aspect of the exam, and you need to write a 500-word essay. So if you just cast your mind back to that example in the video, okay, that student had to write a paragraph. But if you divide using the dip up, if you use the dip strategy, and you say 1 paragraph for description, 1 paragraph for interpret, 1 paragraph for evaluate, and 1 paragraph for going forward. Or maybe you can combine the D and the I and the E and the P, and then remember you must also still have an introduction and a conclusion. So what I want you to really understand is that you have to follow the instructions that's given to you in the question paper. Okay, I'm explaining to you the principles of reflective writing, but your lecturers are going to provide you with more information, and they are going to want you to write it in a very particular way. You take what you've learned here today in this session and you apply it to what they are asking for. Okay, does that make sense? So I've gotten to the end of what I wanted to cover with you today. So we can open up for questions and comments. If there's anything that you maybe didn't follow. So then what you could do is, just to end off as a checkout, because today will be the last time that I'm interacting with you like this, as a checkout, maybe in the chat you can indicate, give me one thing that stood out. What was the most valuable part for you of today's 1.5 hours? What was the best thing for you of joining today's session? You can unmute your microphone or you can post it in the chat. That's fine. Anybody? You want to say something? You want to make a comment? Or you can type in the chat. Kim, you asked to be added to the group. I've posted the link in the chat. You can just click on the link and to join the group. Thank you so much for that feedback, Nicolene. Hello, go ahead. Yes, I see somebody's raised their hand. Is it Kim? Oh no, it's Kailetu. Hi, Kailetu. Go ahead.
Hi, Lynn and
Hi.
everyone. Yes, I just wanted to say from my side, man, thank you very much for the support over the past few weeks. It's been fruitful and I enjoy this discussion, something that I always look forward to on Saturdays. Because the subject itself was a bit daunting, you know, when I started. But I think, you know, listening to the discussion and also to other fellow students here and the videos, I am now confident that going to the exam, I should, you know, just manage just fine. But so thank you so much. I just said that this will be the last time, but yeah, no, I enjoy this very much. Thank you. And also for this deep strategy that you've shared now, I mean, it also applies beyond exams. I mean, you know, one would want to do that from time to time. So thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. Thank you so much for that, Kylie. So I appreciate it. And yes, you're right. You know, reflecting as a practice, no matter where you find yourself, sometimes it's a really valuable exercise to do, not only for in an academic environment, but sometimes, you know, at work or home life. You know, sometimes it's difficult to figure out something, and sometimes all you need to do is just reflect on it, but reflect on it in a very particular way, and then the understanding will come through, and the growth and the development will come. So thanks for that, Kylie, too. I have posted in the chat the feedback form that we need you to complete as part of the tutorial, department or section in the Western Cape Learning Centre. So if you don't mind just completing that before we leave. Noluthando saying you're super ready. Oh, that's fantastic. Well done. I'm so pleased to hear that you're feeling so confident and how to prepare yourself for it. Thank you. Thank you for that, Noluthando. All the very best. So from me, the final note will be, and I put my camera on again for you to see me. You're welcome, Pumza, is to say all the very best to every single one of you for your exams, not only for the 1504, the ENN 1504 exam, but also for the entire exam period. It's going to be challenging because, you know, you're going to be writing all your exams online and it's new for many of you, but take your time, take a deep breath, just relax, Prepare yourself. And remember, as I say with my mantra, there's always a way. Okay, as I explained to Pumza earlier, there's always a way. So be kind to yourself, stay safe. Remember, the coronavirus hasn't left us. We need to be safe. We need to take care of ourselves and our families and the people who are important to us. And so I wish you everything of the best for the exam period. And all of you, take care of yourselves, stay safe and stay healthy. And goodbye.